Me come up with this title. It was kind of inspired. Like I got the idea from my own life. Um, it's not my story, but that's how I got the idea, and it made me think. Like, what if this? What if something like this happened? What if you trusted God to make the right decision, and then you made the wrong one? Um, how does God salvage the day? How does God come through? And is there hope in that situation? That was, yeah.
Kelicha, I went through your books. At first, when I saw the title, when I saw the giants, the first thing that came to my mind was structure. Because when most times when we hear giants, we see it as a mountain, something that was crushed, something that was crumbled. Even from where we read Numbers chapter 13, when those people saw themselves as grasshoppers, while the people they went to see were giants. So when I went through the book, I now had a change of perspective. So I want to ask, what inspired you to write this book, following the steps of giants?
Okay. First of all, I started writing as instructed by God, and my first title was "Following the Steps of God" and "Following the Steps of Understanding the Power of Liberty." That was the first one. Writing that, five other titles came, and the "Following the Steps of Giants" is actually like number three. Why? The "Following the Steps of Giants," we have a lot of course, according to Solomon, there is nothing new under the earth. There is nothing new under the sun. So, if you want to succeed in any area of your endeavors, there are people that have gone ahead of you. You need to study them. Of course, there are some people that have made mistakes. Look away from the mistakes and take the positive side of them. So that's why this following the steps of God.
It reminds me of the book God's Generals. Like,
Exactly.
Like,
In fact,
looks at the life.
exactly. In fact, when I was after writing this, I've already published it in 2016, and I had to come across the generals this year, early this year or late last year. Like, wow! So this is what God was actually telling me to do. But I just picked few generals I know, few giants I know and have worked under or followed from a distance. So when I came across that, I'm like, wow. Oh, really? This is what God was actually wanting me to do, but I just had to limit it to the people that I knew.
Thank you very much. Is this book your favorite book? Because from your brother,
No.
we read that you
Not
got
really.
22.
No, not really, not really.
Which is your favorite?
As an author, every of your book is born out of different circumstances. So I wouldn't say I have a favorite. But of course, one of such is the power of choice. The choices we make in life can make us mouse. So we just have to be very careful the kind of choices we make, especially in marriage. Who you marry can determine where you be or what you become in life if God does not intervene. So we just have to be mindful of the choices we make.
Let's give her a round of applause. Thank you so much. So when I was reading Rachel's Choice, I felt that God was like we were just professing the love to Rachel like everywhere, even while she was on air. You begin to say, yes, I love you, wow. So mad. And we are living here. As really, what do you think are the signs that we should really watch out for in man? Like somebody's going to be professing that yes, I love you, this and that. What are the signs you think we should watch out for? Because at the point I was confused, God likes to be confused too. So why asking me, is it really possible that someone will marry the person they don't love? I was like, yeah, it's possible.
Wow, what are the signs to watch out for? So I shared like 12 lessons from Rachel's choice on my Instagram page. So do check it out in case I forget to mention some of them. But these are signs to watch out for someone who might not be sincere. Someone who is rushing you. is trying to get you to move too fast, you suspect that person, because they might have an agenda where they're not letting you process things properly. They want you to jump to conclusions, make hasty decisions, and you're not going to make your best decision when you're in a rush. So if someone is trying to get in your space too quickly, step back and assess the situation. If there's someone that seems to be a yes man around you, everything is yes, 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 yes. I love what you're saying. You're so great. Yes, yes, yes. He doesn't seem to have a contrary view or opinion about anything. You also should suspect that person. He might just be a chameleon who wants to please you and just get in your corner real quick until you think you have a friend and really you just have someone who's a chameleon.
Thank you so much. I'm sure we are learning something from what she's saying.
Yeah, these are some of the traits that Doug showed. So these are things to watch out for. Also, I think one thing that Rachel didn't really do is she didn't take seriously what she was feeling about things, so she didn't trust her instincts, and when she felt that something wasn't right, she didn't really examine it to understand why. She might have swept it under the carpet and let it abide. And I think when you're unsure of something, when you feel your instinct is telling you that something is a bit off, or there's something that you actually don't like, but you don't think that God is saying you have to endure it, that it's God's will for you to suffer that cross. You really do need to take it to God and pray about it, but trust your instincts, as well, because the answer sometimes is right there if we examine it a little further. So those are just some three things to watch out for.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So this is Kelicha. Kelicha, sorry, ma'am. What is the hardest part of writing the book when you're writing?
I've not actually had any challenge writing. Yes, I've not had any challenge writing. But on the part of editing, when you finish writing, you give to professional editors to edit. Yes, even as and most of the time they disappoint. They give you a date. Maybe you have a particular date in mind to publish, yet they won't be ready by that time. So I think that's the only. But in terms of writing, I don't have any challenge.
How do you manage work-life balance? How do you have time to still write in spite of the stress around? How do you balance it?
Easy question for
Me? Okay. All right. Everything in life, you have to strike a balance. Writing is something I've been doing. Of course, I studied English. So we summarize, we write a lot of essays and the rest. And when I worked on Diamond of God, also I was writing their newsletter. So it wasn't a challenge. But family, of course, with children, of course I have 12 years now, 10, 7, and 3. And but when they were small, they were actually small when I started writing. So the challenge is how to how I manage to balance all this. I write majorly at night, midnight, because that's the time I can focus. During the day, I cannot write. During the day, I cannot write. Unless God just give me an idea. I can just drop it in my mail or WhatsApp. But the main writing is majorly at night because I don't have a maid till now. I manage my children alone. Yes, I don't have a house help. I don't have a maid. I don't have a driver.
How many kids?
And 4 children.
Hey!
Mr. Femi, where is he? He was when I had my 3rd daughter, it was very healthy, so I had to employ him as a driver then, which he didn't even work up to 3 or 4 months. and I just had to let him go because when you know how to drive, another person driving will be somehow for you. So yes, but of course, so majorly I write at night. During the day, I just reserve it to attend to my children, and of course, the home with my husband if he's around. And most of the time, he's even hardly around. Yes, most of the time he's hardly around because he works offshore. So I'm with the children. So writing, business, going to market and the rest. So every other thing I do during the day. This school is just about 3 years old. So I wasn't even it just feel like last year I published about 9 novels. So yes, 9 novels last year. So the school is not an issue because I am not teaching them. Yes, I have staff there that are teaching. So school is out of it. So majorly it's just the home fronts and the writing.
Okay. Wow. That writing at night thing, it's not a regular for me. Like, that one is as inspiration comes. Or let's say I feel like I have a deadline and I've been holding on to something for a while, then I'll just say, no, tonight I'm writing. But usually I find time in the day to write. Early mornings used to be very good for me when I was blogging, but I had to save that for my son for school runs and stuff. It helps me because I work from home. I work for myself, so I can control my time better. So I'm able to work during the day when my son's at school. Yeah, right.
So, Ma, I'm asking you this. I find the book very interesting. So, is love a sign? Let's say, for example, I meet a guy today, and then let's look for the love. Is love the only sign that we need? Like, the sign love enough to go into marriage?
Okay. Is love a sign? The answer is no. Love is one of the things, one of the signs that you should be looking out for. It's a very essential one. Don't devalue it at all, because that's what Rachel did.
Yeah.
She devalued it. It's a very important thing you want, an ingredient you want in your marriage. But it's not the only thing you should be looking out for. The other thing that people can camouflage love. And I think that also happened there. They can make something that isn't love look like love. It's just about creating the feelings and how do I say it? Anyhow, we know the difference. There's a difference between that and attraction. Other things you should look out for: someone who is trustworthy, someone who you've come to really know them, so that if they tell you that it's raining outside, you don't have to open the curtain and check. You trust their word. When they tell you that they're on their way from somewhere, you're not doubting them that they haven't left their house yet. Because you know that person is a person of integrity. They speak the truth, and we shouldn't devalue that, because it was devalued here with Rachel. Like, she brought it up as an issue with the marriage counselor, and it was like, it's just street smarts. It's just regular. Who's perfect? Everybody lies. It's not the truth, and you don't want someone like that whose word you can't trust to spend your life with. So whether the person is trustworthy, what other signs I give? Integrity, yeah, love. So something else that is very important is compatibility. You might have your loving feelings for each other, but if you're not compatible, you're not going to be a good team. Do you understand? Even though it gives you butterflies or whatever, it has an expiry date. And that is when you get fed up of making compromises to be together. When you get fed up of sacrificing your opinion just so that you're not going to fight. So you definitely need someone who you agree with, who is compatible with you. So certainly someone who's of the same faith. And you're not going to be arguing about which church to go to or, anything like that. So compatibility is very important. So love cannot stand on its own.
Thank you so much.
books, like books that have inspired you, your writing career?
Okay, I've been asked this before, and I didn't really recall anything because I wasn't much of a reader before I started writing. I only started reading more after I became a novelist, But I do recall that as a child, I read Mills and Boons quite a bit in university, and I have to say, I think they kind of influenced me in terms of being so interested in romance and love and my perspective on those things. They influenced me. I didn't get a lot of Christian books that I read that influenced my writing. So the Christian direction my books took is purely from my own faith and what God inspires me to write about, the things that will make a difference in the world. Right.
Okay, what inspired you? Actually, I never wanted to write. Not yes. I read English, but I never wanted to write. I remember when I was doing my first master's in Covenant University, I had 2 young children. They will give us assignments and tell you to quote A, quote B. I'll just come and say, excuse me, ma, this is it. I just came to write. I just came to have the degree. I'm not using it for anything. So mark what I have. So, and eventually when God told me to write, and I started writing, in fact, it became a thing of, they used it to mock me then. Kelicha, you said you don't want to be an author, so how come you are writing now? So it's not something I ever wanted to do. It's just something that God made me to do. So it's, of course, I've read a lot of books of my father in the Lord and Compatibility, some notable men of God within and outside the country, but none of them actually inspired me to write. It was just a directive that God just gave to me in a dream and told me. In fact, when I was given the title, I didn't want to write it. I was even complaining that how will I go about it? And one of my prayer partners then now told me, just start. If it's God that is directing you, He will make a way. So, and that's how it just happened.
Thank you. So, I have a question for you now. What's the most important lesson you think life has taught you?
I think that's a private question. And I'm not even sure I know the answer to that, because by the time I meditate on that, some deep stuff's gonna come out.
Then let me change the question.
No, don't change the question. So it's a very good question. Do you have an answer? Let me meditate some. The most important lesson the life has taught me. Wow.
Important.
I would say, for me, what the lesson that I'm really trying to practice right now, from my experiences, things that have been happening in my life lately, is I'm trying to trust my instincts. I feel like I'm someone who I doubt myself a lot. And I like to be generous to others, like give some a second chance, the benefit of the doubt. But for myself, I'm not so gracious, and so because I give these second chances and the benefit of the doubt, I get taken advantage of a lot, and I fall into situations that I wouldn't have gone into if I just trust my instincts. I'm not going there. So I feel like right now what I'm trying to do is just, if something is off, just nope, we're not going there, because I'm not going to learn the hard way by falling into it. Yeah, so I'm just learning to trust myself more and say yes to me, instead of just trying to say yes to everybody else.
Most important. All right, I would say is about marriage. Yes, and just like she explained earlier, love is not enough. Commitment is vital. But of course, in the Christian fold, you are advised to, of course, a man that loves God. You just have to. But I have an experience of that particular word, a man that loves God, because a man can be in church 247 and still not love God. So how do you measure a man that loves God? That's the truth. I have or know one or two persons that when their husbands were coming for them, the person was actively involved in church and everything. But all of a sudden in marriage, every other thing is fine. So when men of God, or when we tell people, and we are all men and women of God, of course, when we tell people that love is a requirement, and that's a man that loves God, what will be? What will you use to measure it? To measure that love for God? Because you have a lot of people, they are in church every day, but they don't love God.
Yep.
That's the truth. So I will say for me, that's a big question. I'm still researching and I'm still thinking of a way out of it. So that when you tell someone, okay, you have to marry a man or a woman that loves God, I'll be able to tell you, okay, you can measure by this, by that, by that. Because I don't think going to church is a measurement of someone that loves God.
Their fruits shall know them.
Okay, sorry, just like the other time she said commitment and compatibility. One thing about marriage is before you marry, know the person's likes and the person's dislikes. It's something that you have to sit down. In fact, a lot of people make mistakes by rushing into marriage. I wouldn't say rushing because there are a lot of people too that, okay, the person, oh, you make mention of something before I give it. You make mention of, give it a long time.
I didn't say give it a long time. Don't let them
don't rush you. Okay, yes. I don't let them rush you. Okay, because you can give it as long time as possible and it still will be wrong. So the most important thing is now trust God absolutely and go by the ways of the Lord. Because and secondly, another thing again is before you get married, both of you have to sit down and plan. One, how your finance will be run. Secondly, how many children you will have. Thirdly, like she said, the church you will attend in case you are from different denominations. Okay, eventually when we get married, which church are we going to be attending?
They can still change their mind later.
Yes, but these are the most important thing to ask first. So, okay, the number of children, how we can raise our children. Because the truth is, if you marry somebody that is not a believer and you want to raise godly children, it takes extra energy, it takes extra time, it takes a lot of stamina. Then when you marry somebody, both of you have agreed we're going to raise godly children. So 4 or 5 major things you should look out for, you should ask yourself as young people when you want to get married is, one, how do you handle your finance? Because if you cannot be free with yourselves, with your finance, it will be a major problem later. The number of children you will have, the church to attend, and how to raise your children. And of course, another vital one that we Christian women shy away from is sex. Yes. How do you know this? I often tell people, even if the man doesn't know, the woman, if you know or you have read about it, you can teach. The man, if you don't know and the woman knows, the woman can teach. So we shouldn't shy away from these things when we are planning for marriage. Because a lot of marriages are having issues today. That's the truth. A lot of marriages are having issues today. Whether Christian, Muslim, or pagan, they are having issues. So there are some things you need to put in place before you can ever say yes to a man or a woman.
How do you teach sex before you get married? You don't have sex.
No. It's after marriage anyway. But you have to ask. You have to ask. Like I got married in Catholic, but I left later. When we were doing marriage counseling, they taught us. They told us, okay, sex selection, this, how to do. They taught us during the seminar. So definitely they will teach.
Do you mean the theory can sustain you in the practice?
No, I don't mean the theory can sustain. The most important thing we are saying now is let the two of you agree on these points before you ever go into marriage. Yes, both of you have to agree.
Yes.
This is how we'll do it. This is how we'll do it.
Yes.
And then, so
You
of
have
course
to flesh
with
it
that,
out.
exactly. So with that, I believe there will be. But if you are married already, of course, you are already inside. Yeah, so you think of a way out. Yes, and of course, just like you said, carry your cross or whatever. Of course, you just have to carry it because our Lord made us to understand that every cross, every temptation that comes to man is not bigger than you. So no matter how tempting it is, you just have to carry it graciously. Yes.
And I think one thing is that you have to marry a best friend. I think we're so impatient about this thing that we marry someone that is not our best friend because we think, oh, we'll become best friends in marriage. To know someone is your best friend enough for you to marry them, then requires that you know that person very well. You trust that person very well. They cannot be your friend if you guys don't agree. So those are important things. What do you want to do with your best friend? You want to have things that you have in common. Yes, you can have some things that you have differences on, but they're not like deal breakers. They're things that, okay, that's his own, that's my own. The main thing is that if you're looking for your best friend, you're looking for someone who makes you happy too, and who you make happy. Do you understand? It's not like one person makes the other person happy and the other person. So, and for you to know that you have found your best friend, it's not someone you met last week or last month. So that's why you really have to give it time to know if this person is your best friend. When you know that this is your best friend, you know them, then you know that you're ready to move on to the next level. If they ask you, will you marry me? You can say yes. But if you're just dating, you're just dining, you're attracted to this person, you haven't ticked these boxes, you haven't talked about finance, you haven't talked about what you want, you don't really have that agreement. If the person comes down and brings roses, I beg, say no. I don't want.
Say yes.
Don't be behind me. I don't want. It's not my fault. Not when I do party and force me to say yes. I'm not ready. You're not my best friend. I'm not gonna say yes. All right. So wait. Try and find your best friend, and that's how you know who you're supposed to spend the rest of your life.
I would want you to pick your book and maybe probably a chapter or your favorite. You just want the audience to get a sense of what the book is about.
Okay, I'm gonna read chapter 4. It's a long chapter. Well, it's not a long chapter. My chapters are like 2,000 words. Is that too long? You said maybe a chapter. If you want some less than a chapter, I'll pick some less than a chapter.
Yeah, less than a chapter.
Okay, so if it's less than a chapter, let me think of something else. Okay. Trying to think. There is a part that I usually read when it comes to reading a snippet of my book. But I don't want to keep reading that same part all the time. I like to read something else. I don't want to read a chapter. Okay. No, I'm so sorry. I think I really want to read that chapter because I can't find what I want to read.
You might not read everything.
Okay, so if the paragraph.
What's the story?
Okay, I'll read when you guys get bored. Tell me stop. Right? Chapter 4. Are you listening?
Yeah. Alright. It's the day of Rochelle's traditional wedding, and the house is in an uproar.
In every room, there are aunties at work making preparations and last-minute adjustments to things. Auntie Faith is busy making adjustments. Auntie Blessing is tying the gele for the bridesmaids in the family living room. Auntie Joy is doing the bride's makeup in her bedroom, while Auntie Elohor is supervising those setting up canopies and chairs outside. In the spa room, Mrs. Eden is getting herself pampered. Two aunties are with her, making sure that her pedicure, manicure, and facial are exceptional. And the wedding planner is overseeing all that is going on, coordinating with the band, the performers, and other vendors to ensure that the occasion is a wonderful success. Rachel doesn't have any work assigned to her. She also needs to get herself made up, styled, and dressed, and be there to assist her sister with anything she needs. Their cousins are also on ground for quick errands. The only people who seem to be idle are the privileged sons and older married fathers, who are already dressed and chatting in the guest lounge downstairs, where the TV is blaring in competition with the DJ outside. Looking good, Auntie Blessing says to Rachel when she's done with her giving. Today is the day you'll meet your own husband. Don't worry about a thing, she adds and winks at her. Rachel manages a smile. It's going to be a long day. Rising up, she leaves to check on her sister. Isn't she gorgeous? Auntie Joy beams at Rochelle. Such a beautiful face. Thank you, Auntie, Rochelle says, admiring her reflection in the mirror. She notices Rachel at the door. You look nice, but your gele looks too tight. It's okay, Rachel mutters, using her finger to adjust it on her ear. Come and sit down, let me touch you up. Auntie Joy beckons to Rachel when Rochelle stands up to go to the bathroom. I'm okay, Auntie. I better come sit down. Auntie Joy hisses. You don't know that after Rochelle, all eyes are on you? Isn't it bad enough that she should marry before you, and then you don't even want to look your best? Rachel sits down to avoid more talk on the subject, but it doesn't stop Auntie Joy. When I was your age, I already had 2 children, she continues. Hey! Rachel looks up to see who owned the deep, sultry voice. I guess I didn't say it right. Hey. Rachel looks up to see who owned the deep, sultry voice. She's face to face with AGK. How hadn't she seen him coming? Hey, she smiles back. What a party. Are you enjoying yourself? She shrugs. Yeah, thanks. Are you? Honestly? He asks, cheaply. She looks into his eyes. They're deep and seem to swallow her in. Mm-hmm. He leans in and whispers, I am now. She can't help the beam that breaks open her lips into a wide smile and then giggle. You're funny. AGK also giggles. I'm glad you think so. If that's a good thing. She shrugs. You don't talk much, he observes. Rachel takes a deep breath. It was a good observation. I reserve my energy for the radio station. I'm not very social in real life, unfortunately. I get. You look good though. She instinctively looks down at her 2-piece native attire, which she thought was unflattering. She didn't really like the color and was a bit itchy in places. But it sure made her boobs look big, she noticed. She decides to be polite and accept the compliments. Looking into his face, she smiles and says, thanks. Hey, beautiful. The enchantment is broken and Rachel tears her face away to look at dog, who just joined her. She'd almost forgotten that they were in a party, in a big open room filled with all her family. Her heart's rate increases suddenly as she takes in all the noise and commotion of the wedding. Hi, Doug, she mutters breathily. He pulls her in for a hug and then slaps palms over AGK, whose demeanor has changed. What's up? Doug asks, looking between the pair, his arms still holding Rachel close. Though she seems uncomfortable, she eventually releases herself from his embrace and leans against the wall. Nothing, just chatting, HK says. He looks between Rachel and Doug. Sensing that there's something between them, he makes an excuse to leave. He swallows. Let me go see how Ekene is doing. Talk to you later. Yeah, man, Doug says, smiling gratefully at his friend. Rachel watches after HK, wondering when they would have a chance to chat again. For some reason, she liked him. He made her heart smile, which was a very rare occurrence. What was it about him? A penny for your thoughts? Rachel looks up at Doug. She'd almost forgotten that he was still there. She swallows. I just remembered that I need to do something, she says, stepping away. Oh, okay. We can catch up later. Yeah. Oh my God, I just liked that. That's it. That's it. All right.
Do you want to make sentence from that?
Sorry?
Do you want to make any message from that?
Oh, well, I was just talking about, well, this chapter, her auntie is like, not just one auntie, but there's so much pressure at her sister's wedding because she's the older sister and she doesn't have a boyfriend, she's not yet married, you know, so there's the pressure there, like, okay, what is it? Today's your day, so there's the today's your day, you have to accept and say amen. So that's one kind of pressure. And there's the pressure of you have to look your best because you don't want to look like, you know, and then there's all sorts of pressures. And then there was that interaction between Rachel and HK and who she was having feelings for, and then the annoying dog that interrupted their conversation.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. So it was actually in that chapter she met the two men that.
No, she met them before. That's the wedding.
Yeah, the wedding.
She had met them already.
Thank you. From your book, do you have any paragraph?
Read. I'll rather just summarize. Just like Numbers 13, that's why I actually didn't talk when they read that whole chapter, because it's one of my main Bible passages in the book, outside that of Genesis 6 verse 4, where giants were actually being mentioned. You know, when we talk about giants, we think, okay, they're just one big looking and the size, just like the case of David and Goliath. But what the book is actually letting us know is that we can be giants in our field. Even as an intellectual, you can be giant in any field of your endeavor. But to be a giant, you just have to what? Giants are what? They are great dreamers. And they don't just stop at dreaming. They dream and they execute. They take the right decision. They are truthful. They are honest. And of course, they are very prayerful people. I'm not talking about the worldly aspect. I'm talking about in the Christendom. Giants are very prayerful. Without prayer, without the word, of course, giants read the word of the Lord. So they dream after dreaming, and of course, their dream comes from the word of the Lord. Just like the chapter we read in Numbers 13, like Caleb and Joshua. Our profession, our confession matters a lot. Our confession, when you confess, 3 or 4 things, about 5 things happen. When you make a confession, God is aware of your confession, the environment, of course, just like the word of the Lord. Everything will work together for what? For good for them that love him. So when you confess, so everything we do in life, we should maintain positive confession no matter what we are going through. Yes, no matter what you are going through, maintain positive confession. And of course, with prayer, with word study, with discipline, of course, you just have to be highly disciplined. If you must be a giant in your field, you just have to be highly disciplined. And mentorship also comes to play. You cannot be a giant in isolation. You just have to study those that are above or have gone ahead of you. And so the place of discipleship is very important. The place of mentorship is very important. And of course, that's honesty. You just have to be truthful to yourself. You have to be honest to yourself in pursuit of your dream.
And I believe with this and some other more, you can be a giant in your own field. Thank you.
Now it's question and answer time to the audience.
Wow.
Ma, let me share the greeting to you. One of my friends, she's in Abuja, so she couldn't come. She said that she extended that greeting to you, that she had been reading your book.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, so, okay, let's take a number. 1, 2, goodness, and 3. Any other person? 4. Okay, 5. Any other person?
A couple of questions came to mind during the conversation, so I probably will just throw them out. So the first one is to you, Ma. I think a couple of times you mentioned you were led by God, God spoke to you about starting a book, you didn't want to start one. So I want you to be a little bit explicit. When you say God spoke to you, like say, Mama, start writing a book. So I want you to be explicit. And should I answer my questions?
Okay, maybe you should ask everything.
Okay. And then the other thing I want to ask is, I believe as book writers or as authors, excellence is also really important in what we do. So I want to ask you, maybe particularly to any of your chapters you've written, any of your books, are there like if it's fictional books, are there specific fictional elements you make use of in your works? Are there references you need to make to that's if you're not writing a fictional book, for example, do you need to make any references to apart from the Bible to give credence to your work as an excellent work? So those are just questions I have.
All right. The first one.
And you have another.
Sorry. The third one is book writing. Is it a means to your purpose, means to achieving your purpose, or is it one of the ways through which you achieve what you believe is, I believe, your purpose?
Okay, thank you very much. The first one, of course, it didn't come as thus said the Lord. Kelicha, do this. No, it came in a dream. Yes, it came in a dream. And of course, the truth is, Satan cannot give you positive thing in dream. So when you dream the right one, you definitely know it's definitely from God. I was in a dream, that was 2015. And of course, quite a number of dreams. And for that particular day, I was in an auditorium and I was told to write a book, Understanding the Force of Liberty. And like, what is this? And usually when I wake up from sleep from such dreams, I write it down. So I wrote it down, but I've forgotten about it. So one day we were just discussing dream, and I brought out my dream book. Yes, I have a dream book. Is either I write and send to my mail to save it there, or I write in a book. So I brought out my dream book, and I was seeing series of dreams. And of course, that's also how God led me to singing. And so but this particular one, he gave me the title and told me what to write inside. You know, when God was okay, the use of the blood, sacrifice, and I wrote them down when I woke up, but I forgot about it. But just one of those days, I was discussing with a certain prayer partner, and we raised it, and I start. I say, no, I don't want to start. He said, if it's God, of course, he will make a way, and that's how actually God made a way. Then in terms of giving credence to my work, yes, of course, I add testimonies. So for instance, I'm writing Following the Steps of Giants. How have I? Of course, I won't be where I am today if I am not in the winner's family. That's the simple truth. The word of the Lord. Of course, my discipline and background, that's from the Catholic. Catholics are very disciplined. You know, they don't joke with time. And when I left Catholic and joined Winners, it was also the same thing. 6 is 6. And so, giving credence to my work, what have I learned from those people, those giants that have made me who I am today, or that I'm still learning, because we're all learners, I'm still learning. But what have I learned from them? So those things I've learned from them that have impacted my life, I put them as a testimony in the books. So I don't think there is any of my books you will read that you will not see testimony, either personal testimony or testimony of people concerning that particular topic. Thank you. Is that all?
Purpose.
Oh God, of course. The truth is, book is a ministry. Yes. Where you cannot reach, your books can reach.
Yeah,
People have called me from USA, from all parts of the world. Like, how did I know her? I knew her even before I met her here today. And I was asking her, oh, are you on a Kada book platform? She said, yes. I said, oh, because of course I've seen her books there. I've seen her write-ups there. So that's one thing about book. Book is a ministry. Check it or leave it. Book is a ministry. So you can achieve your purpose through writing. Are you trying to make people follow after God? You can achieve it through writing. That is if that is what God has sent you to do. Thank you.
Okay, I have a request to Uma. Then I have a question to both guests. While you were speaking, you made mention of said on a research on how do you know a man that loves God. So I want to offer a request that maybe when you're done with your research, you can convert into a book and let us learn from it. And that's my request.
All right.
So the question I have, I believe so much in inspiration, and for me personally, most of what I write is based on everyday what I see every day. As I started to listen to both of you, I saw the two different paths. You write from how would I explain it? You write from like a story-based perspective. She writes from this is the topic and she builds on it. So my question is this. I know the question people ask generally is, what's the source of inspiration? I won't ask that. My question is this: how do you write from what you've never gone through? Because in all sincerity, if I see someone who writes for a relationship, I know there must be something that must have happened because of. So you might not tell us a full story. You might just tell us a bit and build on it and add some other fiction to it. So I'm asking both actually. How do you mix inspiration, your personal life experience, and your writing?
She asked you a question first. Okay, so let me try. How do I mix inspiration with fiction?
Yes. And your personal experience.
Okay. When I want to write something, I usually have a message. Usually, not all the time. Or I have a story idea. If I have a message, then I don't have a story idea, then I'll have to now think of a story that will help me communicate that message very well. So sometimes I get the message first, and then I develop the story idea, or I have the story idea and the message comes out. So like with The Naive Wife, I had the story idea, I wasn't sure what the message was gonna be really. I just wanted to follow that idea. When I start writing, sometimes it's God that gives me the idea, and sometimes it's just me just playing around with something. But at the end of the day, no matter what, God has come into it, and we're working on it together. It's our project. With Broken, it's not here. It's the second book I published. So Broken is a short story. It's a free short story, and that was me writing about something that I've never experienced. Well, not to the extent that my character did. She experienced child abuse by rape from her uncle at a very young age, and it really affected her in her marriage and everything. And that was a story that God put on my heart to write when I was blogging on a certain platform, and they seemed to be so obsessed with sex. So that story didn't originate from me, and that character and we have nothing in common. Like what she went through and how she responded to things that she went through. So, but when I was writing that story, I knew I was going to go deep because she didn't believe in God, and I had to enter her perspective as someone who has suffered so much and she doesn't believe in God. And I didn't know how I was going to get to the other end and still have faith in God when I put myself in her shoes. But it's like empathy. I don't know. I just entered the character. I got lost in the character. I felt her feelings. I went with it, But then it was God that helped me to get out of that and to write something wonderful at the end of the day, And I give him the glory for that.
So that
Does that answer? I should go ahead. So here's my family perspective. Okay, from my point. Of course, I write by inspiration and happenings in the world generally. Like you said, made mention when you came to give a charge that maybe when you came to take praise worship, you said there's no amount of how we praise God that will be okay for God, right? That you've seen people just doing case, a lot of accidents, you go in, you come in. So I write based on inspiration and happenings around. I can, maybe if I'm your friend, you may be passing through something and I will write about it, but without making reference to your name or anything. But I will write about that experience so that what is book writing, you're trying to pass a message that, okay, for instance, this our sister is passing through a particular situation, and if you do this, maybe it will be better. So I write basically on happenings and inspiration. Of course, with a little of personal experience.
You can't help that. It has to
Of
come in.
course,
It has to
definitely,
come in.
definitely.
That's where the gold comes
Exactly.
So we should talk.
from. Hi.
Hello, good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Please actually have two questions. So my first question is Uma. Yes. You said something very important yourself, and one thing that people say is the fact that you multitask so many things. I want to ask, how do you have time to take care of yourself? I'm asking because I need to learn how to. I really need to learn how to make content take care of myself. So how do you make content take care of yourself?
Yes, that's very important. Just like Ufuomaee said when she was, I think, introducing herself or somewhere during the conversation, she said that she doesn't write at night, right? And everybody with their own personal way of writing. I multitask. How I manage to do everything is because of what timing. Everything I do, I have timing. Between this time to this time, what I wish to achieve. And recently, after I did a program in, of course, don't forget that your children are your first ministry. Your home is your first ministry. So if you are preaching to others or teaching others and they get converted and your children are lacking behind, of course, there is a big gap. And that's one thing we have also learned from reading the generals. We learn their positive aspects and implement it. My children are the first for me. Every other thing is secondary. So once they are at school, I can do any other thing I want to do. But once they are back from school, forget it. You can't see me out. And recently I did a praise program. And after that praise program, I noticed some certain actions or reactions or attitude. In fact, I just had to pen it. I said, enough, let me do this. So in everything you do in life, multitasking, doing A, B, C, you have to put yourself. And before how I managed to take care of myself, the year 2018 or so, I was in a ministry and a woman of God, just like her own story, that's where I was going to. A woman of God gave me the book of Ecclesiastes to go and read it. And it was as if I've never read it before. Yes. It's about how you can enjoy yourself. Before now, just like she said, I can help others. I will save and save and save, help A, help B. But don't be surprised, I will not even be able to take care of my own hair until I read that book. So when she gave it to me to read, I read it with another couples. I've read it before, but I had to read it like with the mindset of, okay, what does she want me to learn from this? And God himself was telling us to enjoy our life. Of course, you can't just be helping others, you can't help yourself. So at that particular time, I began to restrain myself. And of course, I began to be particular about taking care of myself after my children. Actually, they come first before me. So after them, then myself before any other thing. So it happens that most of the time, you are doing a lot of things and you neglect yourself. But just try to see, in fact, if not for the orientation I have that my children first, some people will say themselves first before any other person. Yes, some will say myself first before any other person. In the case someone have told me, even if you are not there, if you die and go, these children, life continues. So try to take care of yourself. So whatever you do, please don't neglect yourself. Your health, your look, everything. You just have to learn how to prioritize yourself before any other thing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ma. I think I'll take it to go and read Ecclesiastes.
Yes, go and read it so that God will speak to you. Yes, actually, it was like wow. It opened my eyes. Like wow. Okay, yes, because a lot of us, yes, especially people in ministry, you are busy pursuing members, doing A, doing B, and you neglect yourself. So there are times you have to sit back and ask yourself some certain questions. Yeah, and of course, when you ask yourself, be able to know how to begin to take care of yourself. And I can tell you, at least now, I am trying than before. Yes, I am beginning to learn how to take care of myself than before. Before now, no, I behave more like a tomboy. You know, anything I can wear slippers, enter my car, you know, yes. But now I am more conscious of, because like they said, impression matters a lot. You know, the impression you create when people see you the first time, it matters a lot. Before, I can just do anyhow, wear t-shirts, wear slippers, and go all around Lagos. I mean it. And go all around Lagos. But now, in fact, do you know when I was driving down? Let me give you a personal experience today, a personal encounter today. Of course, I've been in Shiloh since on Tuesday. I actually came from Canaanland. And at a stage, as if I was losing strength, you know, because I've not rested. The program ended yesterday morning and I've not rested. So, and there are people that joined me. At a stage, I put my wig. Yes, I put my wig and said, because it felt as if I was suffocating. And I had to quickly call Mr. Femi. I said, Mr. Femi, once I get to your environment, please come and take over the way. I can't drive anymore. I'm just stressed out, you know, and he came. In fact, it was at this place. I said, how can I just use this being too easy again and come out and quickly, yes, I had to put the wig back. So that's the what that book have made me to realize now. I'm beginning to be conscious of myself and my personality because, of course, first impression matters a lot. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Another question for you, Ma. Yes, Ma, you said something on marry your friend and marry your friend.
Your best friend.
Marry your best friend. What if you have 15 best friends?
There are 15 best friends. Guys, do you know the definition of best? What's the definition of best?
Best friend. Myself as an individual, I don't know, but I don't think I have a best friend.
And then you don't have one. Then you don't have one.
I don't know. I don't really like the idea of a best friend. I like friends, but best of best.
No, you want your best friend. You want your best friend because you have a lot of friends in your life. Best requires you making a choice. What is best for you? You understand? You have to make a choice. So if you have 10 friends, you pick the best one out of that. Then you have already started making a choice. Okay, why is that person your best friend? When you start thinking about why they're your best friend, they're always there for me. And I can call them any time of the day. We agree on this and this and this. I really like how I am when I'm around this person. Do you understand? You will be able to know who your best friend is. Now, if that is a girl, I'm not going to say go marry that girl. Yeah, I want you to find your best friend that is of the opposite sex.
Yeah.
You know, that is actually even better than your best girlfriend. Do you understand? The person who you actually want to be with more than your best friend that's a girl.
Do you have any last words for us?
Any last words? In this life, you will have seasons, and you have times of darkness where you can't see clearly. It's good. Never forget that God is with you, and that He loves you with deep, deep love, and He's gonna see you at the other end of whatever it is that you're going through. He's not going to leave you. He's gonna stay with you through it, and it's. For me, what the things I've gone through in my life, it was knowing how much God loved me that kept me. And so never doubt. the love of God. Thank you.
The parting word is that, of course, don't joke with anything that has to do with your God. And let me let you that whatever you are passing through in life, whether rejection, of course, even these giants pass through such. You can be mocked, but don't ever forget the goal. And what is the goal? To be like Christ. Christ is our ultimate. So no matter what you are passing through in life, in marriage, in your business, never let go of God. Never let go of the sight of that Christ is your ultimate mentor. And if Christ, always think in this way, and it has also helped me. I always think, if Christ were to be in this condition, what will he do? That have always been my guide. So if anyone is assaulting me, if anyone is doing anything to me, I always think, if Christ were to be in this particular condition, what would Christ do? And of course, don't forget, in terms of abuse, in quotes, I'm just using that as an example. Christ said, if someone slaps you here, come to this side. So whatever you go through in life, whether neglect, rejection, whatsoever, don't let go of God's hand. Don't let go of that fact that Jesus Christ is your ultimate, no matter what you pass through in life. Thank you.
Thank you so much.